Hey, so here is a short routine you can do at the end of the day to unwind your hips. If you're someone who walks a lot, stands a lot, or sits a lot, it's kind of all of the categories, you might be holding some tension in your hips. So this nice little routine, do at the end of the day, sort of let go of whatever you're holding in your hips and prepare yourself for a good night's sleep. So just settle into a comfortable cross-legged seat. If you need to sit up on a folded blanket or up on a block, feel free to do that so you can create a nice tall spine for yourself. And then just kind of take a little wiggle around, just kind of really settle in to your butt bones and notice if you're like using your hip flexors to pull your knees in. Put your hands on your knees, take a nice deep breath, breathe out your mouth and let it go. Feeling your knees gently settle toward the floor, we'll take another deep breath. Just letting your entire day release. Breathing it out your mouth. Now one more time, deep breath in through your nose. And a deep sigh out your mouth. Take a little sway side to side, just leaning right to left, just feeling into your hip flexors in the front and maybe the outer hip rotators, just noticing where you maybe feel a little tension or compression without any judgment, just noticing what you've got going on so we know where to work. And then just settling yourself to the center one more time, setting the intention to let go of judgment or expectation and just release the hips. So shifting onto your back body, just go ahead and lay down on your back. And we're going to start by extending your right leg down on the mat, flexing your right ankle, and hugging your left shin deeply into your chest. So give it a nice big squeeze into your chest. Take a nice deep breath. Big exhale. Do that again. Nice big breath. Releasing it a little bit, and then exhale, drawing it way back in. Now, one more time. Deep breath. And let your thigh release back into your chest. Now shift your right hand out to the right at about shoulder height. Take a nice deep inhale and use your left hand to kind of pull your left knee out to the side. Try to keep that right ankle flexed. Try to keep that right glute glued to the floor. And then just use your left hand to kind of bring your knee in and out, just a little back and forth. So you're letting the hip relax and you're using your hand to do most of the work. Just in and out a little bit, just a nice easy first hip release. And then we're going to take the knee across the chest, switch hands. So you'll hold on with your right hand and just reaching the left arm out. You'll hug your knee, I'm out of room here, that's okay. You'll hug your knee across your torso, not coming into a full twist, just using your right hand to bring your left thigh like across your low belly and just hold it there a moment. Try to keep your left butt cheek close to the ground. And then come back, we'll switch hands again. Hold on with your left hand. Reach your right arm out at shoulder height. And just let your left knee melt out to the side. And back and forth a couple of times. Bring it in, switch hands, and take your thigh across. Bring it in, switch hands, reach the right arm out. Bring it in, switch hands, and bring the left arm out. I'm just going to roll this all the way around into a twist and kind of scoot your hips over to the left a little bit if that feels like it's a little better alignment in your spine. You might bring your right hand onto your left thigh, gently letting your knee drop down toward the floor. Take a nice deep breath and a big exhale. Deep breath. Big exhale. Feeling your shoulders heavy on the mat, head is heavy on the mat. One more nice deep breath. And breathe out. Now you're just going to continue all the way to roll over onto your belly. So come onto your right side and then just keep rolling right on over. You might kind of scoot yourself over a little bit to come all the way back up onto your mat. You've got your left knee out to your left now with your ankle flexed and your knee bent up about as high as your hip. And just make a little pillow with your hands. Top of your right leg is on the floor. Take a nice deep breath and just feel your pelvis get really heavy. Just letting yourself get heavier and heavier into the floor. If this doesn't quite feel like a hip opener, easy for me to say, hip opener in your left hip, go ahead and bring your knee up a little bit higher, keeping your left ankle flexed, and then letting your pelvis get heavier and heavier, your belly get heavier and heavier to the floor. And a couple more breaths right here. And let your jaw get soft and let your shoulders get easy on your back. Notice where your thoughts are and just bring your attention to your breath. Next inhale, just push into your left hand to roll onto your right side. You can come up bringing your hand to your head, head in hand, or if it feels better to rest your head on your arm like so, then just rest your head on your arm. You're going to take those left toes onto the floor and keep that leg straight. It's like a bit of a kickstand to help you balance. And then you'll bend your right knee behind you, holding onto the inside edge of your right foot. If you can't catch your foot, you can always use like a hand towel and wrap it around the toe if you need a little more space. So we're laying on the side, you're using your hand to draw your heel a little bit closer into your butt, trying to open up through the quadricep, the right quad. You're going to drop your tailbone underneath you and slide your right knee back just as far as feels like you're starting to get a stretch in your right thigh. Keep your left shoulder blade down your back. We'll take a nice deep breath. Exhale, draw your tailbone under you and keep drawing that heel in close to your glutes. 2 more, deep breath. Big exhale. Now 1 more, deep breath in. And breathe out. Unwind, just slowly roll right down onto your back. We're just going to do the other side. I'm scooching over to the right a little bit to give myself space so I'm not right up against the wall. You'll draw your right knee into your chest. You'll flex your left ankle, trying to send that left ankle, like leg, down into the floor. Take a breath. Exhale, squeeze your knee into your chest. A couple more like that. Inhale, just let it release a little bit. Exhale, squeeze your knee into your chest. Inhale. And 1 more time. Exhale. Left hand goes out to the left at shoulder height, and then use your right hand to draw your knee out. And try to keep that left thigh rooting toward the floor, and then bring your knee back in. And just use your right hand to bring your knee out. Right hand brings your knee in. Just kind of rolling your hip around a little bit. And 1 more time out. Now as you bring your knee in, switch hands, put your left hand on your shin. Right arm goes out to shoulder height. And you're going to use your left hand to try to draw your thigh across your low belly. So not all the way into a twist, not yet. And try to, instead of like pulling your pelvis up off the ground, try to keep your pelvis rooted so you get a nice opening through the outer hip on the right leg. Now we're just going to go back and forth with the breath. Inhale, switch hands. Left arm goes out to the left. Let your knee melt out to the right. And bring it back. Switch hands. Right arm out to the right. Knee comes gently across the belly. Inhale, switch, and let it move out. And exhale, in and across. Now we're just going to roll all the way into that twist, so letting that thigh move across to the floor. You might scooch your hips over to the right a little bit. Try to keep that right shoulder glued to the floor. Your left hand can come up onto your right thigh to let you help you melt a little bit deeper into your twist. Take a nice deep breath and exhale. Jaws nice and soft. Deep breath and exhale. And one more breath in through the nose and breathe out. And then we're just going to continue to roll right onto your belly, all the way over onto your belly, scooching onto your mat maybe a little bit, and then untucking your left toes. Your right knee is up at hip height. Make a little pillow with your hands for your forehead. Let your shoulders relax down your back. You can bring that right knee up as high as feels good, melting into that right hip. And letting your belly and pelvis get really heavy, just letting it get heavier and heavier to the floor. We'll take 3 nice big breaths here. And notice where your thoughts go. And know that whatever you're thinking about might need some attention at some point. But for now, go ahead and let it release. One more deep breath. And soften everything down into the floor. And then slowly push onto your left side. You can use your bicep as a little pillow, or you can prop your head up in your hand with your elbow bent, whatever feels best. And you'll take those right toes out, right leg is straight, a little kickstand, and bend your left knee behind you, catching your left foot. And again, if you can't quite catch your foot, you can always use like a hand towel and just wrap it around your foot to give yourself longer arms. Reach your tailbone down toward your back knee, and then draw your heel in as close into your butt until you start to feel that stretch. And we'll stay here for a few breaths. Big exhale. To come deeper into this as you like, so don't strain or push, but you can bring your knee back a little bit more if you feel like you have space to go deeper without any strain, or you can drop your tailbone under you a little bit more, and that will take you deeper into the quadricep stretch as well. There's one more breath here. Big inhale. And big exhale. And unwind your foot. Just go ahead and roll back onto your spine. And hug your knees into your chest. Give them a little bit of a squeeze. And just rock right up to a seat. So bring your hands behind you. You'll take your feet out as wide as your mat with your ankles flexed, heels on the floor, and walking your fingertips so your fingertips point straight back and you can kind of crawl your shoulder blades down your back. Lift the center of your chest, pushing in your hands a little bit. Take a nice deep breath. And with your exhale, just let both knees rock over to the right. Let's let them rock as far as feels good. You can let that left knee come all the way down to the floor if it reaches, but don't push it. And then we'll come back and forth from side to side. So rock through the center, and then just rock both knees over to the left. Right knee just coming as low as feels good. And come back to the middle, and rock to the left. You'll notice my butt is kind of crawling forward a little bit. If that's you too, just let your hands come in a little bit to support yourself. And to the right, and to the middle, and to the left, and come back up to the center. Just going to scooch back on your butt a little bit so we return to that sort of starting position. Heels out as wide as the mat, feet are flexed. Bring your right hand to the floor behind you, fingers face straight back, and bring your left arm up next to your ear. Take a breath and inhale. Try to grow as tall as you can through the spine, lifting the center of the chest. And then let your knees drop over to the right as you come onto the outer right hip, lifting that left arm up as high as you can, and then put your left hand down right next to your right hand and slide your right hand over so it's shoulders width apart. So this is like a kind of a twisted pigeon. Take a nice deep breath here, gently pressing both palms into the floor. Both ankles are flexed. Shoulder blades are down the back. You're welcome to stay right here with your hands on the floor, or maybe it's going to feel nice to come down onto your elbows. If you come down and it doesn't feel so hot, just come right back up. Shoulder blades nice and easy on the back. Take a big inhale. And then let the center of your chest reach forward through your arms. This is a really easy one to sort of slouch and hunch the shoulder. So let's try to draw the shoulder blades way down the back. Easy breaths right here. Now one more big inhale. And big exhale. Walk your hands back up underneath your shoulders. Turn to face the front of your mat. Starting position, so heels in the floor, feet are flexed, fingertips behind you. Left hand reaches straight back, right arm comes up next to your ear. Inhale, grow super tall through your spine, and then let your knees melt over to the left. Keep reaching up with that right hand, reaching all the way back around behind you. Put your right hand next to your left, and then shift your left hand out, shoulders width apart. Shoulder blades down the back, nice long spine as you kind of push gently into the floor, drawing yourself a little deeper into this twist. So it's a twist with like an outer hip opener. And feel free to stay here with your hands right where they are. Or if it feels right, and felt good on the other side, it's kind of slinking yourself down, bringing your elbows underneath your shoulders. And take a nice deep breath, bring your shoulder blades down the back, run a little bit longer through the spine. And breathe out. Let your jaw get nice and soft. Deep inhale. And exhale. And one more time, big breath. And breathe it on out. Now walking your hands up, just crawling around, rolling around to face the front of your mat. And we're just going to come right up onto hands and knees. So on hands and knees, we're just going to set up for pigeon pose. Before we do, just take some circles around in the sky with your tailbone. Just making that circle as big as feels right. And then gently rolling the other way. And just a little more outer hip opening. So knees stacked right underneath your hips, hands underneath your shoulders. And you're just going to sway your hips over to the right as far as feels good. Just let your hips drop over as far as feels good. And then come back through the middle and let your hips sweep the other side. Just letting that left hip drop down toward the floor and come back up. So we're bringing the right knee forward to the right wrist and flexing the right ankle. You're going to slide that back leg back a little bit. And for this pigeon pose, you might want to keep your heel right close to your hip flexor. So if that doesn't feel like a whole lot of glute or outer hip stretch, then you might want to bring your foot up a little bit closer to your left hand, but be super mindful that you don't feel it in your right knee. I'm going to just square the hips off to the floor for a moment. Keep those back toes tucked for a moment too. And then bring your hands back a little bit, shoulder blades down the back, hug your low belly in, and gently press your palms into the floor to lift the center of the chest. So you might feel a nice juicy opening in the front of that left quadricep and dropping down through the tailbone a little bit so you're not compressing the low back. Take one more breath there. And then we're just going to walk the hands forward. You'll untuck your back toes and keeping your hands about shoulders distance apart, almost like your arms are in like a downward facing dog. Take a nice deep breath and you're just going to push your hands into the floor to wiggle back just a little bit deeper into your pigeon pose. Take a nice deep breath. Let your shoulder blades drop down the back. We're going to add a twist to this. So you're more than welcome to stay right here or just come all the way down into the forward, like the prone variation, just forehead down on the floor or on your hands. Or if you want to add this twist, you'll start in this position and you'll just take your left forearm down onto the mat for a moment. And then take your right hand out on a little bit of a diagonal. Take a breath. And as you exhale, pull your low belly in a little bit and push into that right hand. So you're starting to twist through the spine. And then you'll take the left palm up toward the sky, slide it underneath the right arm, and let your head drop down. And you might crawl that right hand forward so it comes up above your head. And take a nice deep breath and soften into this twist. Let your jaw get really soft. Let your face get really soft. And bring your awareness to your breath. If all feels good here and you want to add a little something something, I'm just going to start to press the back of your left arm gently into the floor and then the top of your left leg into the floor, and you'll feel it go a little bit deeper. Just hold that for a breath or 2 breaths or 3 breaths, and then let's let it all go. Just really letting that right glute, those external hip rotators, let's let it really release. And then bring your right hand underneath your right shoulder, pressing it on up, lengthening through the spine. And then walking your elbows forward. This is where you're going to take that block. And we're just going to put the forehead on the block just above the eyebrows, shoulder blades relax down the back. And just very gently rocking your head across the block over to the right and to the center, just releasing any tension in the brow and the forehead. One more time to the right and center and left. Let your head rock back to the middle. Walk your hands up underneath your shoulders. Just slide your block out of the way. I'm just going to tuck the back toes under to push into the back knee and the hands to bring that right knee back up underneath your hip. And we'll take those spirals around with the tailbone and then spiral the other direction. And just coming into the left side. So left knee to the left wrist, flex the left ankle, sliding your right leg back a little bit, and deciding where you want that left heel to be, right? So if this is already pretty intense, then you're going to stay here. If you want to go deeper into the hip opener, you might lift off a little bit and bring your foot up a little bit closer to your right hand, all the while being super mindful of that left knee. And so before we come down, we're just going to walk the hands underneath the shoulders. Tuck the back toes under. It's going to drop down through the tailbone and gently press into your hands to lift the center of the chest high. Just getting a little bit of opening in that right hip flexor. Take a breath. And then we're going to exhale. Walk the hands forward. Untuck your back toes. You're just going to kind of push into your hands a little bit to wiggle yourself back a little bit deeper. Again, mindful of your knee. Take a nice deep breath, lengthening through the spine. Big inhale. Shoulders easy on your back. Big inhale. Just dropping down into that hip, just letting it release. Jaw is soft. And then we're going to add this twist. So you're taking your forearm across the mat, take your left hand out a little bit on a diagonal, and just press your palm into the floor to help you start to roll into the twist. So your rib cage is rotating to the left. If all feels well there, so you can always just stay right there, just turn your right hand up, slide it underneath, and lay your upper body down. Side of the head comes down, shoulder comes down. You might stay right here, or you might take that left arm up over your head and breathe. Just pressing into the top of the back foot and then pressing into the back of your right arm. Maybe you get a little more rotation. Back of the leg pressing firmly into the mat, back of the hand pressing firmly down. Maybe just 2 more breaths, pushing into the floor that way. And then exhale, letting everything relax. Softening in here, another breath or 2. Notice if you're resisting the hip opening, like you kind of feel like you're squeezing your glutes. And can you really soften and let it go? And let the breath guide you there. And then bringing your hand underneath your shoulder, just coming up to slide your block. Just a couple more breaths in this pigeon. Letting your forehead come onto the block just above your eyebrows. Shoulders easy on the back, elbows are soft. And then just a little rock over to the left and to center and right and back to center. And just one more time. See if you can let go that space above your eyebrows. And then just letting it settle, your forehead settle in the center. Take a deep breath. Big sigh. Walking your hands slowly up underneath your shoulders, just sliding your block aside. Pressing into the back toes and into the hands to just lift yourself onto your hands and knees. And we'll rotate the hips around a little bit. And just roll it the other direction. Extend your right toes to the floor behind you. Just push them into the mat. And then switch sides, extending the left toes into the floor behind you, pressing into the mat. And then toes touch, knees nice and wide. Take a nice deep breath. As you exhale, let your hips sink back to a nice wide kneed child's pose, kind of rocking a little bit side to side, extending through the arms, and just releasing your forehead to the floor. Shoulder blades easy on the back. Take a breath and see if you can sink a little deeper into the hips. Breathing into your back body, feel it expand toward the sky. And exhale, let everything go. And just slowly finding your way up and back to your cross-legged seat. Settling into this seat one more time. Sensing into your hips, maybe taking that little sway side to side. Noticing if there's been a bit of a release. And then centering yourself back in the middle. Feeling your nice tall spine and your easy breath. Deep inhale through your nose. Breathe out your mouth. Namaste.